I'm Lenny Marcus. I'm a jazz pianist from New Orleans that has moved up to Durham, North Carolina, and then eventually into Roanoke, Virginia. My dad was a general surgeon, but he played a lot of jazz piano through college to work his way through college, and he met all the famous people in Philadelphia. And then they moved to Silver Spring, Maryland, and they had these Sunday jazz parties at my house. All the locals and some of the more famous stars that would come and play at Blues Alley in D.C. and stuff, they would go to these jazz parties, and I'd be like 5 years old, running around with the famous Charlie Bird trio in my house, and Ray Bryant, and all these Richie Cole, all these great famous players. And I just grew up with it, and it was just natural to me. And jazz was always on. And then my mom surprised my dad one time, and she'd been secretly taking upright bass lessons with a very famous bass player, Keeter Betts, who played bass for Ella Fitzgerald. And then one day at one of these parties, she whipped out the bass and started playing along with him, and he was just flabbergasted. And then my oldest sister sang, and it was just full of music. I just started picking on the piano, and I wasn't trained typically in the academic, so I was trained by Ray Bryant, a wonderful left-handed jazz blues pianist. You know, I'd try to listen to his records and sit on his lap and play piano, you know, with his big hands around, you know, and I was just trying to figure what he was doing out. And then I kept doing that. In New Orleans, I went to Ellis Marcellus's house, the famous Marcellus family, every week for piano lessons for a couple of years. And then I went up to Berklee School of Music in Boston and studied with a man named Ray Santisi from the New York Jazz Quartet, and just all these famous players all the time. I just got lucky with my training. Very later in life, I met this wonderful woman, Rebecca Wallenborn. I had always wanted to learn classical piano. I said, because I'm starting so late, let me focus on one composer, Beethoven. And we're going to have some of this jazz of Beethoven in our project today. She said, okay, well, I don't have any idea what level you're at. You can play all sorts of stuff on the piano, but I have no idea. What do you want to play? And I said, I want to play Moonlight Sonata. That's my favorite thing. So she handed me this 20-page score. I took it home, but really I just listened. I just listened and listened and listened over. And I came back and I said, okay. And I sat at the piano. She goes, show me what you got. And I gave her the book. She goes, well, what are you doing? I said, well, I don't need the book. I just listened and listened. And then I just played it. And at the end, she said, you played every note correctly. There was not one mistake. But I don't think you know what you're doing as far as just the very fundamentals of basic, how to hold your arms and your hands and how to really approach it. Because I was always self-taught or taught by these players. And so it was funny because I was advanced in one area, but really beginner in another area. And she helped me bring that together over about 5 years.
Talent is, highly overrated. Musicianship goes beyond talent. It's talent that's developed. And working with guys like Lenny has always been a dream of mine. Work with someone with this level of musicianship and creativity is what all of us guys in the business live for, but very seldom get to see. I opened the studio in 2007, so I've lost track of how many albums we've done, but it's been a bunch. Lenny would come in here and we'd crank out 20 plus songs in a weekend. The studio is located on the shores of Smith Mountain Lake. The website is bwrecording.com. My main goal is having a comfortable place for musicians to create in.
I'm David McDonald, and I'm the audio engineer here at Blackwater Recording, and this weekend we're recording a new project for Lenny Marcus. Go ahead. Lenny Marcus is an amazing musician, an amazing jazz pianist, an amazing human being, and I have worked with him, I believe, in the neighborhood of 20 years. Always a pleasure. I have recorded Lenny with a handful of drummers, bass players, horn players, etc. This particular trio is especially exciting because of the ages of these kids.
Through a number of different bass players and drummers with the, quote, Lenny Marcus Trio. We started in New Orleans with the first one with a great bass player from New Orleans, Jim Singleton. And then the drummer was Herman Jackson, who I guess people know Randy Jackson, his brother, was one of the judges on American Idol. Well, Herman played drums. And Herman and Jim played on my very first album in the 80s. now I've found these wonderful young people that are so enthusiastic. Zach McDonald, now living in Baltimore, Maryland, on bass, and my favorite name in the world, Denver Nucholls on drums, who came up from Texas through here. Now he's up, I think, in Massachusetts, but he's traveling all over. And I got together with these guys, and we're just having a blast.
I'm Zach McDonald. I play the bass. I'm 24, and I'm from Nucholls, Pennsylvania. I met Denver at Virginia Tech through the jazz combos, and I met Lenny through a mutual friend of ours, Cyrus Pace, who's a guitarist in Roanoke. He had me come out on a gig, and Lenny and I really connected the first time we had, in that first gig that we shared together. I could communicate really easily with him because he's very open to individual expression. We got together because he had some songs that he was writing. We didn't have a drummer for a super long time, so I recommended Denver.
I'm Denver. My name is Denver. I am from Galax, Virginia originally, and I am also 24. And I met Zach through Virginia Tech, the jazz combos, also basically through a mutual friend, Cyrus Pace, the man himself. I have been playing jazz drums ever since. In terms of working with Lenny, it's been really great to kind of have that area for self-expression in terms of music, because a lot of the people that I have played with have been set in some kind of form with how they want to do things, and Lenny lets things develop really organically and allows the music to be kind of a setting instead of a project or a product. I am super into the idea of wearing influences on your sleeve. I think that it's kind of the way that music has always progressed, is that people take things that came before them and people that came before them and idolize them or chose them as, like, there's always a reason that music is resonating with specific people and specific musicians are resonating with specific people. And I think seeing into someone else's experience of that is really interesting, and we're seeing into Lenny's experience of that through these tunes, especially through the things where he's directly paying influence to important piano players that he's studied and important musicians just in general.
we like a lot of the same stuff.
Sure.
You know, like a lot of the same people. We've all been influenced by the same musicians. I also like the idea of like writing songs in the style of other people. Either you come out with an album of originals that are trying to like express your own voice, but trying to reconnect with other artists by mimicking their voice or doing some sort of facsimile.
Pandemic sort of shut all us musicians away from the club, so we'd get in my backyard every 2 weeks and we'd play out there with our masks and social distancing. And we'd have fun and we'd keep ourselves going in the year, 2020, 2021 now. And that was our way to keep our art going, our music going, and to have some fun and hopefully make a great album. We are very fortunate in this area to have Blackwater Studio and Harold Thompson, who sort of built this whole house and studio and everything right off beautiful Smith Mountain Lake in Wirtz, Virginia. And we have a wonderful sound engineer, David McDonald.
I am the youngest of 7. Grew up got older in Northern Virginia, in Fairfax. All of my siblings are musicians. I believe I was around 13 or 14 years old, and I met a substitute teacher for our band class. Come to find out, he had a studio in his home in Manassas. My mom used to drive me and my buddies out there to go record our band. And it just mesmerized me, the process. Harold built this place, and I just could not resist. The view, the space.